Don't touch my.
Hello there, I am that random guy from Fano, and today I'm going to be talking about the series we'll be starting very shortly, Chronology. Now Chronology, the idea behind this is that I want to take a franchise and I want to not really review it, but do a synopsis and a sort of a short discussion about each entry in a franchise, but in its canon chronological order. So what I mean by this is multiple franchises out there have expansive narratives that cover, 1 to 7 games. What I want to do is encapsulate each of those, but in their actual timeline order. For example, Metal Gear Solid. So the Metal Gear franchise in its entirety starts off in 1964, which is Metal Gear Solid 3. So release date wise, it's actually the third entry in the Solid franchise, though the 5th game overall. But it actually takes place at the beginning. So what Chronology plans to do is go from the beginning of a franchise to the end of a franchise in chronological order using only canon entries. So the first instance of this I want to do is, of course, Metal Gear Solid. So Metal Gear Solid starts off, as I mentioned earlier, in 1963. And then, 64, my apologies. And then it moves on to Portable Ops, then to Peace Walker, and then to the newly released Metal Gear Solid 5, and Metal Gear Solid 5, The Phantom Pain. And then going all the way and ending, I know people hate it, but it ends in 2018 with Metal Gear Rising Revengeance, which is one of the silliest names I've ever come across in a game. But, again, it is canon and it will be covered. So, another franchise that covers very similar ground is Devil May Cry. Now, Devil May Cry is a little bit easier to follow, and I will only be covering the original universe, as the rebooted universe only has one entry currently. But in Devil May Cry, it starts off with Devil May Cry 3, then it goes Devil May Cry 1, and then it goes Devil May Cry the Anime, Devil May Cry 4, and then Devil May Cry 2. So you see that the series is released disjointedly in the timeline, and also there's an anime. So yes, I will be covering things that are spin-offs, but the number one rule for this series needs to be the series, or the franchise rather, has to be first and foremost a game franchise. So I won't be covering things like Star Wars, even though Star Wars has many brilliant titles. They are also not canon anymore, so there's that. The titles must also be canon, which is rule number 2. All titles that we covered will be canon. And number 3 is I don't want to give my opinion on the game. I'll only be giving a short synopsis and a short discussion, or rather a long synopsis and a short discussion about about an entry in a game. I don't want to put my opinion over the piece, because it's my opinion. You guys probably don't want to hear it, especially on a series that's meant to be going in chronological order of a franchise. Last thing I want to be hearing is some dude saying, oh, this entry sucks compared to this entry. I want to just give you cold, hard canon, and the canon in chronological order. Another franchise of note that has done this, released everything out of sync, is God of War. God of War starts with Ascension, and then moves on to Chains of Olympus, and then finally God of War 1. Then after God of War 1, we have ourselves Ghost of Sparta, I believe, and Betrayal, which was a mobile-only exclusive, and God of War 2, and then finally 3. So you can see that that series is disjointed, and again, I will be covering all of its canon. So if there are comic books that are canon to God of War that I haven't mentioned there, I will go over and cover that if God of War is one of the franchises people suggest. So, in the discussion box below, I want everybody to comment what they want me to cover in chronological order. It can be crazy sprawling. However, rule number 4, and this is my final rule, I will not cover a real-time strategy game, so that's Command & Conquer and the like, because I am terrible at them. If you do want them covered and you push for them to be covered, I will get one of the other people who work with me, that'll be Slim Riggedy or Lieutenant Vague or Harriet Skelly, to come along and do that for you. However, me, myself, that random guy from Whānau will never cover an RTS. I know, they are a very popular genre of games, but it is not something that I'm particularly good at or interested in, to be honest. I'm not very good at item management. I notice RTSs rely on that quite a bit. So again, Chronology will just be a series that will cover the canon entries of a franchise in chronological order. Now, someone has mentioned to me Halo is something they want me to cover. I've quickly gone over Halo, and there's like 20-something books, so I'm going to have to cover them as well. But I will do it. I won't push it away. So, again, any suggestions down below, and remember, the franchise must first and foremost be a video game series. I'm looking forward to everybody's suggestion. This is that random guy from Whānau, signing off.